For many people, their weekends consist of reading a book, playing video games, or playing sports. For some, though, weekends mean sewing and meeting up to go on an epic quest. Live-action role players, also known as LARPers, are starting to become more famous in pop culture, with movies like Unicorn City showing up and music videos by bands like Red Fang. It's hard not to take notice. And there is a lot of work that goes into LARPing to be ready for battle. From character creation to costumes, a lot of detail goes into it. Even the weapons are specially made, with some online stores specializing in LARP weapons and gear. And depending on your character, you could find yourself wearing an outfit that is totally out of this era. Currently in Canada, there are several LARP groups, with one of the biggest in Ontario being Underworld LARP. Nikki Wong Ken does leather work and is avid about costume design.
Curtis, who's wearing full steel armor, which is more expensive in game. And we have a lot of characters who like to work in, who like the steel because it's worth more armor points, and so it makes them a tougher character, which is good when you're fighting the undead.
Historically, LARPing as it is known today started in the 1970s, with some influence from Dungeons & Dragons and origins in war reenactments. Carlos Remedios, a D&D player, feels that playing these sorts of fantasy games have helped him outside of the game.
When you're playing a D&D or Pathfinder campaign, it requires you to think on your feet, especially if you're the dungeon master, the person who's pretty much running the whole show. It requires you to think quick, be witty.
And he's not the only one that shares that opinion. Media Foundations professor Tom Bishop believes that a little creativity is beneficial for good work ethic, even though it can be difficult getting adults and students to express themselves creatively and uses art as a learning tool.
It gives them a chance to get back in touch with that little kid who wants to play and experiment and explore and make the trees blue and put the water in the sky and just do silly things almost. And it's hard for them. At first, it's very hard for people. They right away start saying, I'm no good at this. They start saying, I made this crappy thing. Isn't this disgusting? And so kind of inviting us all to make fun of them for this. And so it's very hard for them to get past that and say, you know what, I had fun, I liked it. It doesn't matter whether everybody else thinks it's great or not. The experience itself was worth it.
Todd Harris, a fellow member to Nikki of Underworld LARP, says that at the end of the day, it is really just another hobby like any other, and it's about having fun doing it.
I call it what it is when I tell people what I do. You know what? I go out and I play in the sandbox for the weekend. I dress up, I have fun. You know, it's interweaved with the cultural, the historical aspects, but at the end of the day, it's just an opportunity to be a big kid in a big sandbox and have a lot of fun for a few days. I think when you put in those terms with most people, whether it's playing hockey or whether it's going out and playing poker, everybody's got their own thing where they get to step outside of themselves and be somebody different, regardless of what the hobby is. And when you put it in terms that they understand, it becomes less of an oddity and just something different to do.
Maybe you'll find yourself next weekend gathering your allies, readying your gear, and preparing to leap into a world of fantasy with live-action role-playing. For Spoke TV, I'm Kale Walters.